Hi, it's Cody Landefeld with Mode Effect. I'm back here to talk to you about WooCommerce, specifically how your WooCommerce store can compete with Amazon.
Now this is a story in fundamentals.
Crazy, right? Well, approaching e-commerce without giving consideration to Amazon is paramount to eating your lunch in a tiger's den at your local zoo. That sounds crazy, right? That's not to say that this can't be done, because it actually can. You just need to be very clear about your strategic planning and what creates your competitive advantage, lest Amazon will eat you for lunch. Now, I know what you may be thinking. The idea that you can go toe-to-toe with a retail giant like Amazon seems completely far-fetched. In many ways, you and I both know it is. Amazon brings a massive scale to the e-commerce world. Everybody knows Amazon. Not only do they offer an incredible wide variety of products, they also compete on price, shipping rates, and on service. Yet, even with these seemingly insurmountable advantages, with the right team behind you and your website, competing against Amazon might actually be easier than you think. Now, are you still a little skeptical? I thought so, because that's why we want to take a closer look at some of the specific things you can do to make your WooCommerce website more unique, step out from under the shadow of Amazon, and build a thriving business to boot. Now, whether you love your competition or you hate your competition, the choice is yours. But if there's one thing you must be doing, it's learning from your competition. Now, maybe Amazon isn't even your competition, but Amazon offers every WooCommerce store an opportunity to learn something about what works and what doesn't from a macro perspective. Design, conversions, product placement, comparative selling, it's all there for you to observe and digest in real time. What's more important is your ability to look at the products in your niche and what you're selling and determine the best way to position your company and your WooCommerce store. Now, these things you have to consider. What are your consumers buying? What are your consumers complaining about? What features do they wish your product or a competitor's product had? And at what price point is that product selling at? Now, as you think about these things, you know there's a wealth of information out there. Let's face it, Amazon isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So you may as well use their presence and advantage anywhere you can. Now, in order to do this, we have to create a smart strategy with our website. Strategic planning has to be part of your process. At any time you're going up against a monster like Amazon, you'll need to be very clear with every decision you make and what you're doing and why you're doing it. Are the decisions you're making in alignment with your vision and with your brand? The more focused you are with your website, the better. Make sure your e-commerce store does one thing really well before you add your product line. Diluting your efforts is never ever a great strategy. You should also make sure that you're sharing your strategy with key people on your team. As a company that specializes in web development, the process is always easier when our clients are able to share a clear vision and strategy, because if you know where you're going, it's easier for us to help you get there. Having a long-term strategy is also tremendously helpful in developing a web-based solution that will be capable of scaling with your business. Now, to build a successful WooCommerce store, you need to make sure that every action that you take is in alignment with your brand and your vision. In order to do this, we need to build a strong and truthful brand. Now, a lot of that work hopefully is done by this point. That's not to say that the products sold on Amazon are void of a brand. Quite the opposite, really. Most of the top products have taken the time and effort necessary to cultivate a strong brand, and you should do the same. The best way for you to define your brand is by asking one important question. When a customer thinks about your company or purchases one of your products, what are the feelings and emotions that arise as a result of that interaction? Let's think about that for a minute. That's your brand distilled down to its most basic form. The first thing you should do is make sure that these feelings and emotions are the one that you want to be associated with your brand. That's not something that you can fake. It's not something that you can pretend. If your customers associate your WooCommerce store with low cost or poor quality, you can't fake the opposite by simply changing your branding. The process will work like this. Your actions plus your customers and feelings equal your brand. If you want to change your branding, you must first change your actions. This can mean higher quality products, better customer service, stronger relationships, competitive pricing, and even more. When your actions are creating the desired results, you can then develop branding to reinforce and build upon what's already there. Running a small WooCommerce store gives you the competitive advantage over a giant like Amazon. While they must appeal to everyone, you only need to appeal to the target audience that you've chosen and your customers. You can make sure that every element of your website works in cohesion of your product and experience. Each word, each sentence, each paragraph, and each image reinforces who you are as a company and as a brand. We talked about potential design tweaks you can make to your WooCommerce website. Now we helped our client Stinkweeds in a recent blog post you can read right here on our blog. The same thing applies to the design of your website. The layout, the color choices, and overall feel all contribute to a single purpose and the building of your brand. Another way to compete with Amazon is to leverage your ability to tell your story. When you're an e-commerce giant that offers over 200 million products, it's a little tough to focus on each and every story or just one little thing. As a small, relatively speaking, e-commerce merchant, you can use your site for that specific advantage. Crafting a compelling story that spurs customers to want to be associated with your brand and your products. There's no better way to explain this than by providing some great examples. Saddleback Leather is a company that obviously sells high-quality leather products, but they're much more than that. Spend a few minutes clicking through their site and you'll see a company that exudes quality, adventure, charity, and family values. It's not hard to visit their website and want to play a small part in what they're building. Add in the customer service and the 100-year warranty, and you'll have a hard time convincing anyone why buying from Amazon might be a better idea than buying from Saddleback. Warby Parker is another company that tells a great story and sells a great product. Eyeglasses are simply a commodity to most people, but Warby Parker has decided to do things differently, and they do it well. While you're reading their story, take note of a few other things while on their website. Most notably, their minimalist design, great typography, and beautiful product photos. I know it's not specifically related to their story, but it's part of their branding package that really reels customers in to their experience. Another aspect we'll want to look at is building relationships. Building one-on-one relationships with customers might not be feasible for your company. It's infinitely difficult to scale that. But that doesn't mean that you can't take the time to listen and communicate with some of the customers who purchase products from your store. While Amazon offers a great customer service, it's tough for them to take that extra step in their service. Individual customers' reactions can be time-consuming, but for a smaller e-commerce store, it's not too far-fetched to think of an owner that can personally reach out and talk to a few customers a week. Thank them for their business and ask them how you can improve and act upon the information that your customers provide. Taking the time to interact one-on-one with your customers is a great way to spread the word about your store, even if it's done on a small scale. People love to share stories and have an opportunity to control the characters, settings, plot, and resolution. Now, in closing, as a small WooCommerce store, you might find yourself worrying about giants like Amazon, but it's simply not necessary. They're big, but that doesn't mean you can't survive and thrive in their presence. You might not have the pockets that are as deep or a supply chain that's as diverse, but you're agile. Change within a small WooCommerce business happens with greater speed and less friction. You also have the ability to target a specific group of customers and tell a compelling story that inspires them to be part of your brand. Finally, we'd love to hear about how you make your WooCommerce store stand out from big competitors like Amazon. Let us know in the comments below. Thanks a lot.
Now this is a story in fundamentals, pure fundamental principles. But yo, it happened like this all the time at the past, no doubt about that. 1969 finished bottom.